Correct.
And I think you said it best. We were elected by those people to come here and to represent them. And many of those people are working class people. Is that accurate?
It is. There are a number of those individuals that are actively working. There are a number of those individuals that are actively enrolled in school. And so it is even, I believe, important that we recognize that, but important that we also recognize that without this urgent request, there's nothing forcing LDH. And like I said, this is an urgent request, urging them to do these things that we're requesting.
Okay, but let me ask you another question. Maybe you know and maybe you don't. Would the governor certainly be supporting this measure with LDH?
I can say that we have worked with the administration and given them an opportunity to review and share input in this urgent request.
Well, I certainly want to thank you for putting forth this measure. I did an urgent request, did you know, to our Mike Johnson, used to sit right here, to do the same thing on the federal level, and then we wouldn't have to do it on the state level if they go ahead and pay the benefits. Is that accurate?
Well, I would say that I can't take the credit for this urgent request. I would have to give that credit to Speaker DeVilliers and Senate President Henry.
I understand. I just want to make sure that,
they
right.
are leading that effort.
I heard my colleague ask if they were to restore the benefits. That's what we're all hoping for, a resolution. Isn't that accurate?
That is accurate.
Because I did a letter to him asking him to restore those benefits and other things.
I do believe, and I don't want to speak for any one individual in this chamber, but I believe we have all heard from our constituents and the concern surrounding the suspension of SNAP benefits and the failure by the federal government to not have the resources to fund the SNAP benefits.
Okay, one final question. Can I add a friendly amendment to add on health care to this?
I would rather just
for all the citizens.
I would like to focus on funding.
I don't want to kill your resolution, so thank you.
Rep. Newell for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my friend. First question is, I know these resolutions were we kind of hurried up with them, so I don't know if it's appropriate, maybe if you and the speaker may be able to address this. What's the difference between HCR2 and HCR3? I was trying to keep up, but things are happening fast.
So would you like me? Okay. So HCR2 was one, you know how we do drafts, and we had some changes at the last minute that we wanted to correct. And all we were simply doing was we were actually removing and moving revenue stabilization from one paragraph to the next.
To the next. Okay.
If you're still available to review, you can see that that's all we did.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because like I said, we're moving fast. When with this, first of all, I appreciate this resolution and that we are prioritizing the health and safety of our citizens. Food insecurity is a safety and a health issue. So I'm glad that we are prioritizing this issue right now. My question is, when this federal shutdown finally ends, are we going to put in mechanisms, are there already mechanisms to be able to stop our funding and just go back to just the federal funding? Because I want to make sure that we're not going to place ourselves in a position to where we're doing overpayments and having to require people to send that money back, or overpayments, and we find ourselves at spending too much out of that fund.
Yes, so this urgent request is only for the time period of which those SNAP benefits have been suspended by the federal government.
We don't know how long it's going to be suspended. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. And that presents a challenge. And I want to go back to your second question. Mr. Wagaspack was verifying my statement to you that I was correct. It was a technical change, and we were simply moving the Revenue Stabilization Fund wording from one paragraph to where it is now, just like I said, simply for technical purposes.
Okay. So we don't know when this shutdown is going to end. And the Department of Health already has mechanisms in place to be able to ensure that we stop state funding this program if the federal money comes back online.
Right. I mean, there's nothing in here telling them to continue to do it. I believe they, without a doubt, know that once the federal dollars are restored, there would be no need for us to continue to utilize dollars within our existing budget to continue to try to fund SNAP benefit recipients.
And I don't know if you know this question, but you've been in the legislature longer than I. And this is my first time being in the legislature when we've had a federal government shutdown this long. Has it, in the past, have we received reimbursements or back pay for certain programs from the federal government?
The only time that I can remember in my tenure in this legislature was in 2019. And at that time, there was a predicted shortfall.
Right.
A predicted shutdown.
Shutdown, yes.
And as I appreciated, the administration at that time had requested in a month in advance another month for the benefits and was granted that on the federal level. Unlike in 2019, this shutdown happened quicker and rather suddenly. So we didn't have the opportunity to make that request for additional revenue from the feds or from USDA.
Okay, so it's looking like we might not have the opportunity to be able to replenish this fund.
No, look, I
with
do
payments.
believe that it would be imperative on us as a state and as a legislative body to request a reimbursement from the Department of from the federal
Federal
level,
government.
from USDA, to reimburse us those dollars.
Okay.
Now, they're not obligated to, but I
Right.
believe it would be imperative that we would ask for that funding.
Thank you for answering that. I only asked that to ensure that we're able to replenish our state funding. So if we ever find ourselves in this position again, we as a state are able to step in and take care of our citizens when the federal government is delinquent or not diligent in taking care of their citizens. So thank you for carrying this bill. Mr. Speaker and President Henry, I want to thank you all for putting forth this resolution. I think this is the most important thing we're doing in this special session.
And look, and it's only by your assistance as a legislator that we've been frugal with our money and that we do have these resources and that we've been wise, this entire legislative body. I think this is where each one of us deserve the accolades because it has been with our prudence throughout the budgeting process and with the decisions that we've made with tax policy and with budget policy that you as individuals receive that recognition. Because of those efforts by this body, we do have those dollars available to backfill or do what the federal government is failing to do at this time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rep. Cruz for a question.
Mic drop.
You could use Rep. McCormick's mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman McFarland, I want to make sure I clearly understand this. So this resolution urges and requests LDH to find $150 million, up to $150 million to cover 1 month, which is basically about 0.6 of their budget or 7.2% of their monthly budget. Okay? Yes. And then after that, I guess it would be our intent to use the Revenue Stabilization Fund by 2/3 vote to continue that if we needed to?
Yes, that is an option.
Okay, and
Once again, in order to do that, that takes an IAB ballot, and that is something we don't have time between now and November the 1st to implement. I mean, it would take longer than this, 7 days, 6 days till November the 1st.
and that's the purpose for asking the LDH to fund that for the first month. Okay.
I think Representative Cruz, you and I, from your time on appropriations, we would both agree that with $25 billion in your budget, that surely we could find.
You would think they would find something in the couch cushions there.
If not, I could ask for your assistance and you and I could go together.
I'd be happy to. And I just want to make clear that the feds are not obligated to reimburse us, but we expect them to. Is that the proper understanding?
Yeah, I can't say whether they will or won't, but I can say that we're going to ask.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Rep. Phelps for a question.
Look, let me follow that up as well. You know, if you remember during the terrorist attacks, at that time, there was no guarantee that the federal government was going to backfill the state for dollars that we had to put forth at that time. We're in much the same situation. Just like then, we went to them, asked for them to backfill those dollars. It took a few months, and we did get those dollars back. And to me, I think that's what we would do again, is that we find ourselves in a unique position. We didn't ask to be here. These individuals we're representing, and we're trying to find the dollars to make sure that we feed them. They didn't ask to be in this position, so I would think it'd be an urgency on the federal level that they would come back and backfill us those dollars that these same individuals deserve to be fed.
Representative Phelps.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and President Henry, for this resolution. Representative McFarland, I only had 2 questions. I have put a call into the governor's office because I was not able to get someone in LDH. But are you familiar, just to provide clarification on how we get the funding from the state for SNAPs? Is that monthly? Is that quarterly?
So they actually disperse the dollars
Yes.
on the federal level. They have a vendor, just like the state would, but they have a vendor who puts those dollars on the individual recipient's card. Now, what the state does is it does a lot of the verifying and applying. If you want to apply, you apply through the state. We do the verification. That is a part of it that we are responsible for.
Do we get those dollars monthly, quarterly, how often? And I'm asking that
So it is
because I
not-
wasn't sure how much we had for November.
Yeah, so it is my understanding that, once again, we don't actually receive those dollars as a state from the federal level. Those dollars are put on a card by USDA on those recipients' cards, and we just administer the program.
And that sounds like it's monthly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and I thought it was different. That's why I'm trying to get clarification. So that basically gives an understanding of why we're at this point thinking that the state had their dollars available. It had nothing to do with the shutdown. But thank you for that clarification. And number 2, when we talk about November, what are we expecting for December if the shutdown is still going on?
Well, so I think that what this urgent request does is it puts us in a position to where if the federal shutdown is still occurring in December, this would give us some time to make sure we have the dollars available for December.
Okay.
Should this still continue throughout that period of time. So that's why the other part in there, not just asking LDH to find the dollars within their current existing budget, but also with an opportunity, should it be necessary, that we could utilize the Revenue Stabilization Trust Fund.
Until the government reopens.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Rep. Carpenter for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, I applaud you for bringing this resolution. Quick question. Do you have any idea of where the state of Louisiana stands on the poverty level compared to other states at this time?
No, I do not. I haven't. I mean, I know we do have a significant population in this state that receives SNAP benefits. I mean, as you've seen from the numbers that I gave you, I would say, I don't want to give a percentage because I haven't calculated it, but you can see there's probably almost 700,000 individuals out of the 4.5 million people in Louisiana that do receive SNAP benefits. But even beyond that, we know that there are about 1.5 million people who also utilize Medicaid.
Correct.
So based on that analysis, I would say that approximately 25% of Louisiana, 25 to 35% of Louisiana is probably within the poverty level.
And with that being said, with the categories of which we normally would fund with this, the elderly, children, and the, what was the third one? The disabled. Do you have any idea of how many fall in each of those categories?
Yes, ma'am. And in the HCR, I know many of you don't have a copy. It was available on your laptops, and I know not everyone has their laptop, but there are 88,000 elderly individuals. There's 120,000 disabled individuals, and then there are 356,000 households with children that make up that nearly 700,000 population total that receive these benefits.
Quite a few number of people who depend on
It is.
this.
And once again, just like you have said, and I believe everyone in here agrees, that many of these are our most vulnerable population.
Yes, and some of them are perhaps working families too. Am I correct?
No, I do believe that there are those individuals that are currently working, and it is my understanding, based on some information that I have received when SNAPS was still under DCFS,
Yes.
that there are working families that often it's single mothers that are working and raising children and still find it necessary to receive SNAP.
In other words, there are a lot of people who don't have enough to make ends meet. Correct.
Unfortunately, we do find those individuals.
Yes, and so I thank you so much for bringing this resolution, and I appreciate our colleagues if they will certainly consider it. Thank you very much.
Once again, I want to give the credit to Speaker DeVilliers and Senate President Henry. It is with their leadership that I stand before you. You know my passion as it relates to SNAP and feeding the children, but it is not for me. As with credit goes to them.
Rep. Chasson for the floor.
Really quickly, just a sincere thank you to Chairman McFarland and a sincere thank you to President Henry and as well our Speaker. This is huge for Louisiana, and we're sincerely appreciative. The kids of Louisiana and the families of Louisiana need us more than ever, and I can't think of a better way to come through for them. So I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Rep. McFarland, you're about to close. You have the right to close.
Members, look, I appreciate the questions and appreciate everyone's support. We know the urgency of this and the vulnerability of those individuals that we represent. And I appreciate the camaraderie that we have here and the concern within Louisiana, because it has been across the aisle in Louisiana that I've heard from everyone. And I believe that our Speaker and our Senate President are the same way. They have heard from everyone about their concern for those individuals within our districts and the impact that this has, not just on the recipients, but also on those businesses that count on that $1.9 billion a year of goods and sold. So at this time, I would ask for your favorable passage.
Rep. McFarland moves final passage of the resolution. All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. Madam Clerk, vote machines. Members, vote machines. Members, vote machines. Bro, yea. Members, vote machines. Romero, yea. Phelps, yea. Members, through voting. Cruz, yea. Members, are you through voting? Members, through voting. The clerk will close the machine. We have 97 yeas, 0 nays, and a resolution has been adopted. Madam Clerk, please open the machine for co-authors. Members, vote your machine to be a co-author. Romero, Phelps, Ventrella. Members, vote your machine to be co-authors. The clerk will close the machine. We have 70 co-authors.
House Concurrent Resolution Number 3 by Representative DeVilliers, a concurrent resolution urging and requests the Secretary of Louisiana Department of Health to take immediate action utilizing any available revenue source to address the suspension of supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits caused by the federal government shutdown.
President Henry.
Thank you, Senator Barrow. Members, HCR 3 is to urge and request the governor take whatever means necessary to make sure that the SNAP funding of the equivalent dollar amount is taken care of for the people of Louisiana for at least the month of September. Should it go further than that, it also allows for that as well with some means. Should we choose to either use LDH dollars or dip into revenue stabilization, there's a mechanism for that as well. The executive order that the governor put forth just covers November 1st through the 4th. Those cards are for the disabled and the elderly, the first group that gets funded. And we'll see if he continues that executive order past then. I see no questions. I ask for your favorable passage.
Senator Henry moves to concur in House Concurrent Resolution 3. When the machines are open, all those, any questions? I don't think. Oh, Morris. I'm sorry, Senator Morris.
Didn't light up. You have a question or the
I've got to say, I really appreciate the sentiment of this resolution. It, because we're a compassionate state, right? And we have a good many poor people. However, this is not our program. And if you step back from it and look at it from a distance, it's really pretty ridiculous that we are, in some respects, being forced to try to bail out the largest source of wealth in the world, and that has ever been in the world, the United States government. I think it sets a bad precedent. And we all know that this is, in part, political theater, right? And these shutdowns have occurred on and off over the year, and everybody stands off in a game of chicken. But ultimately, the government opens back up, which is going to happen. Now, the United States Department of Agriculture sent a memo that was leaked that says that there's no plans to reimburse the state if we shuffle around the LDH budget. And, that if it's $150 million a month or something, and I know we can take money from the rainy day fund, but it creates a bad precedent, and it's a disincentive. And I just don't think it's right. It violates the ideas of federalism. It forces us to do something for the federal government that it should be doing itself. And I don't take this vote lightly, and I don't diminish anyone for voting for it, regardless of your principles. I would hope you wouldn't diminish people who feel like that it sets a bad precedent for us to have to step up and send and use our taxpayers' money. And as has been pointed out, we do not have the right to print our own money, right? We have to have a balanced budget. And this money will come out of the Louisiana Department of Health's budget. And yes, we can pay it back later with our constituents' tax money. But our constituents, my constituents is who I represent, they pay tax money to the state, and they pay a lot to the federal government. And a lot of my constituents want to hold the federal government accountable for its obligations, because I feel like we have enough on our own
So I'm not encouraging anyone to vote against this amendment, and I appreciate the President and the Speaker putting forward and what they believe we must do if the crisis is not resolved soon. You know, I feel like our citizens will step up. We have great food banks around the state, and a lot of them are flush with money. And I'm willing to donate to my food bank. And if SNAP gets discontinued and our people are hungry, I'll pledge to support them. I'll give them my next year's salary. They need it. But I just feel like the gun being pointed to our head right now, not by the Speaker or the President, but by the federal government, is something I think we have to, at least I'm willing to draw the line and say, you guys do your own problem. If you don't want the SNAP program and we have to fund for our own poor people a program, then let's pass legislation to do it, and you can quit doing it. But until that happens, I'm sorry, but I can't support this. So thank you for your indulgence.
Senator Jackson Andrews for the floor.
Members, this is not our program, but this is our people. And so I rise in support of this resolution because the people of Louisiana have a few days before it's determined whether they can feed their children, whether seniors can have enough money to buy medication or food, which has always been the choice. I want to thank President Henry, Speaker DeVilliers for their leadership, and from hearing from members from across the aisle that this is a needed and necessary measure. It's our people. And though we cannot fully enter the politics of what's going on in the federal government because we've been elected to serve the people of Louisiana, whether we use rainy day fund or another fund, while the federal government is shut down, in hundreds of thousands of Louisiana homes, it's about to rain if we don't do something. Louisiana is one of the most impoverished states of the nation, and we do a lot while we're here and have done a lot to bring people out of poverty and give them jobs and create economic benefits for them. We also have to think about our businesses and industries, our retail association and others who put stores in areas of this state that are food deserts. But before I think about anything, I want to think about the least of them is what Christ tells us to do. And whether we go home 3 days short of benefits going on cards and tell our people we didn't think about them. There's a bigger picture than the federal government. That picture right now as we stand on the Senate floor and sit here is us. These are our people. We can politics later regarding what we think the federal government needs to do. But the right now is the urgency to make sure children, people who are disabled, pregnant women, those who may have recently experienced a divorce, whether they have children or not and are trying to figure out how to make it, whether they eat. Not whether they eat well, just simply put, whether they eat. So, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your continued leadership in the Senate, because every time there's a problem, you look for a solution. And I want to thank you for that, because one of the most pressing things over the last week that I've received was an inbox on Facebook from a mother of 3 who simply said, Senator Jackson, do you know if I'm going to receive benefits? There is no way I can feed my 3 kids. I sent her back that the Senate was going to take action to urge and request that they receive benefits. And if not, I'd be at the food banks donating and doing all we could to make sure they ate. We had a senior Christmas luncheon that they look forward to, that we feed 1,000 seniors Christmas dinners that wouldn't otherwise get it planned. We canceled that on last week because we figured that money may need to be shifted for food insecurities in their homes. But as I stand as a body today, I'm proud of the Senate on this resolution, that we're bringing resolve to what may cause hunger. I stand with you when I say I hope that the federal government figures out something that takes care of all people. But today, Louisiana Senate has the opportunity to do something that takes care of our people. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Boudreaux for the floor.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Members, I don't want to belabor the point, but I also don't want to sit there and be silent when there's a need to speak. Poverty and food insecurities is not anything that I want to delegate to the federal government. Our federal government just recently sent $20 billion, we're an agriculture state, sent $20 billion to Argentina, wheat and rice, and we produce this right here in this state. I'm not going to wait for the federal government to do it. I want to express my gratitude to the legislature. This issue came up last week, and here it is a week later. We have an opportunity to speak on behalf of those who don't have a seat, who don't have a desk in this building. They're struggling. They have a home. They have a job. And they're trying to make ends meet. Yes, it'd be easy for me to say, we don't administer SNAP. It comes from the federal government. Most of them wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. One question I'm asked often is what's the best holiday that you enjoy? Is it your birthday? Is it Christmas? Your mother's birthday? Mardi Gras? I always say Thanksgiving. I always say Thanksgiving because that's the opportunity for us to show our gratitude to our Lord for all the blessings that we have received. And as leaders, it's incumbent upon us to speak and to fight for those who don't have that voice, to restore that hope, and to give those families who are working families. We can't run and hide behind the fact that right under 20% of the people in the state are receiving SNAP benefits. That's on top of trying to make ends meet, and in a lot of cases, 2 and 3 jobs. I'm not one to belabor the point, but look, even this leaves a void in so many lives. I too will join Senator Morris in committing more to the food banks who deal with this not just when there's a crisis, they deal with it 365 days a year. And if this was a hurricane or if it was a tornado or a natural disaster, we would say, we got to take care of our people. This is a natural disaster. In tennis, we call it unforced errors. These people didn't ask for this. They don't deserve it. So I rise to thank the legislature for owning a problem that we didn't create. But when we get an opportunity to fix something that we didn't break, I think it speaks volumes to those people who are still struggling. And as we turn the calendar and face November this weekend and prepare for Thanksgiving with our families, let's think about those who are less fortunate. Let's think, what else can we do to help those most in need? For those who are working, they're praying and they're asking for the leaders of this state to never leave them behind and never forget them. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Boudreaux. Senator Hodges for the floor.
I don't like to come to the mic unless I feel very strongly about something. First of all, I want to say thank you to our Senate President for doing the resolution, and I appreciate everybody's views, but I want to go on record. I am going to vote for this, but I do think it's outrageous that the federal government is holding food money hostage over political games that they are playing. And that Chuck Schumer is willing to let people go hungry, our veterans, the most vulnerable, elderly who can't work, children who can't work. But I do know, balancing that with what Jesus said about as much as you've done it to the least of these, you've done it unto me. And so, but I feel like we're having a gun held to our head to say, if the state doesn't fund this, we already paid the taxes to the federal government that funds these programs. But we need to do something as a state in order to feed the most vulnerable, our veterans who count on this for food. And I just want to say, to go on record, that to say to the federal government, I think we all feel this way, open the government, stop the shutdown, stop the games, because people's lives are at stake. And so we are forced to do this so people literally don't go hungry in Louisiana. And this is just for a month. This will get us over for a month. And then after that, what? So we have no choice. And I think all of us are saying to the federal government, stop the nonsense, stop the games. And I just want to say again, thank you to our president for doing this resolution. And thank you to all of you, and wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Senator Hodges. President Henry, to close.
Okay, members, just to recap real quick, so we understand what we're doing here. The individuals that are affected are about 88,000 elderly, 120,000 disabled, and 356,000 households with children. So that our friends in DC can appreciate what we're doing, those individuals are not all white or black, and they're not all Republican or Democrat. And how do I know that? Because look at who they elected. Regina Barrow has 29,000 beneficiaries in her district. Heather Cloud, 24,000, Republican. Pat Connick, 20,000. Bob Henskins, 22. Jay Luno's got 27,000. Blake Miguez has 24,000 recipients. Beth Mizell has 24,000 recipients. Larry Selders, 26,000 recipients. Jeremy Stein, 20,000. So you're trying to put D's and R's on this, ain't gonna work, because their representatives show you that. So members, I would ask you to support this. Ideally, at some point in time in the near future, DC will come around, and if they do, we won't have to dip that far into revenue stabilization or LDH's budget. If they don't, we will, because we'll continue to feed people until DC gets organized, straight, sane, whatever you want to call it. Their problems have now become ours. That's fine. That's why we're elected, and we'll fix them. So I ask for your favorable, I ask you to concur in this resolution. Thank you.
Members, President Henry moves to concur in House Current Resolution 3. When the machines are open, then those in favor vote yea, those in the opposition vote nay. Madam Secretary, will you please open the machines? (32 yeas, 1 nay), and the resolution stands concurred in. Madam Secretary, will you close the machine? Any co-authors? If you'd like to co-author the machine, please open the machine, Madam Secretary, for co-authors. Barrow. (19 co-authors). Mr. President, back in the chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Next resolution.